The great British countryside has long been fabled as a green and pleasant land. Rolling hills, hearty forests, deep valleys beneath a blanket of morning fog. It's the jewel in the crown of our magical kingdom, a place of peace, reflection and vitality, open to us all. At least that's what we were raised to believe. But it turns out we've all been labouring under a massive misapprehension. This green and pleasant land is in fact a hotbed of white racism. An influential lobby of wildlife charities has given evidence to Parliamentary Committee on Race and Community, and the results make for disturbing reading. The British countryside is apparently a racist and colonial white space. Minorities face structural, experiential and cultural opposition to accessing green spaces. The evidence says that cultural barriers reflect that in the UK, it is white British cultural values that have been embedded into the design and management of green spaces and into society's expectations of how people should be engaging with them. Really? Does anybody actually believe that, Tosh? Seriously? Firstly, white British cultural values should probably be expected in a country where most people are British and white. But those values don't automatically mean racism. And it's frankly dangerous to keep telling people otherwise without actual evidence. If the point of this report is to say that minorities are less likely to live in areas with access to the plentiful countryside, and we should try and improve that, then it should say that. Pontificating relentlessly that everybody and everything is racist or a victim of racism, that, to me, seems the real problem here. And frankly, unlike the British countryside, it also strikes me as racist. I'm now joined by Talk TV international editor Isabel Oakeshott and the associate editor of The Mirror, Kevin Maguire. Kevin, can you try and construct a plausible explanation for why I'm reading headlines that our great British countryside, the rolling fields where I grew up in leafy East Sussex, is actually a hotbed of colonial white supremacism?
No, but
thank you. Finally, it's even broken Maguire.
But a lot of
even broken Maguire.
But a lot of stately homes were built on the back of slavery and exploitation,
yes.
right? There is a problem, and I think it needs to be addressed. And you touched on it there. That if black Britons, Asian Britons, Britons of colour are less likely to go into the countryside, why is that? Because the countryside's fantastic, you'd want everybody to enjoy it, and not everybody is enjoying it.
It's not
equally.
Because they're going to be attacked on sight by a bunch of racists. It's complete nonsense.
No, you're more likely to get that in an urban area,
yes.
actually.
But it's demographics. I mean, half of all black people live in London, and it takes absolutely ages to get into the countryside.
I grew up in a village in East Sussex of about 1,500 people. I think there were just 2 or 3 people who weren't white when I grew up, right?
Yeah.
And then an Indian family bought the local restaurant, and suddenly we had 40 to 50 Indian people moved in.
Yep.
And actually, they were transformative for the village in a very brilliant way, right?
Yep.
But nobody was racist about the fact that most people in the village were white.
Look, there will be some...
And I don't think people came to the village and thought, wow, you're a bunch of nasty racists.
There will be some racism in a
of course,
just
there
as
are
they will
anywhere.
be in a town or a city. Those people exist everywhere. But no, I kind of think reports like this don't help.
They don't help.
Because they get people's backs up and make them oppose the report and feel less like
Isabel,
engaging.
it's the idea that there's been a whole committee that's looked into this, right, to try and prove the countryside is racist. If a headline, when it appears, rather than have people take it seriously, makes people guffaw with incredulity at how stupid it sounds, they shouldn't be doing committees to do this.
Well, I searched in vain for the recommendations of how to make the countryside less racist, and funnily enough, there aren't any, because this is just some evidence to a committee that has to produce the recommendations itself. I mean, we could talk about housing and access to housing in nicer parts of Britain, and that would be a very sensible conversation to have. I mean, there's part of me that almost thinks, well, hooray, is this, the race equality brigade, is this the best they can come up with? Because we've made so many so much progress in so many other areas of genuine racism that actually there's not much left to go for
I think
anymore.
I'll end this particular part of the pack by saying if even Kevin Maguire can't defend it, you know the woke brigade have
We can
gone
all go
simply
home.
too far and
No,
are beyond the pale.
Racism still exists and people still
Nobody
suffer
disputes
discrimination.
that. No one disputes that.
However, I'm not saying the countryside
No one
is
disputes that,
automatically
but let me remind everybody, we are one of the most multicultural, tolerant countries on God's earth. The idea that everything about Britain is racist and we're all a bunch of racists is not true, even if Meghan Markle tells you it is.